I've just reached 2,000 subscribers, so to celebrate this milestone, I thought I'd respond to some comments. First question asks, how much do I charge for a transcription? Just in PDF form, no video. So I'm currently putting together a website with some services on it. Transcription will be one of them. It's quite tricky to actually set a price for transcription because they can take anywhere between 20 minutes to like 8 hours for a song. For example, this AC/DC track took me 20 minutes to complete, whereas Darling Dear by the Jackson 5 took me about 8 hours. I think I'm going to charge about £40, which translates as this. Just let me know what song you want, I'll give it a listen and then I'll tell you how much I think it'll cost. And once I've decided on the price, I won't increase that. So if you're interested in a transcription, just send me an email and I'll send you a quote. Sorry I can't be more specific than that, but there's just so many variables, it's hard to kind of specify. Why such an expensive instrument to be Alder? So I did a review of this Dingwall bass, which sparked a lot of conversation. So I mentioned in the video, I think it's a great bass. Sound looks amazing. Sounds amazing, plays very well too, but the problem was I thought it was a bit too expensive for a Chinese-made instrument, and it did have some minor defects on it that you would not expect from a £2,000 instrument. So if you look in the comments section there, you'll see people who agree with that, and then there's a lot of people who are big fans of Dingwall who do not agree with that. So I think one thing that I didn't mention in the video was, so when you pay for a Dingwall, you're paying for a very popular brand. There's a lot of fans of these basses, and they can see why they're really good. So going back to the question, why use Alder on an expensive instrument? I don't know, maybe it's a cheap wood, but I really like Alder. I think it's nice and light. That's really what I look for in woods on basses. There is an argument to say woods affect the tone of a bass, but I've seen many experiments on YouTube that have disproven that. I think maybe it does make a difference, but it's very, very minor. The things that make the biggest difference are the pickups and the strings. So with this, you do get some very good pickups. Since reviewing this bass, I've taken it on a bunch of gigs, and it's never really sat in the mix as well as I'd want it to. I think maybe if it was a metal gig or something, that would be better. So one thing I'd go back on for this review, as I said, it was very versatile. I actually don't think it's as versatile as I originally thought. The notion of playing a P bass or nothing is old. I show up at a gig and I play whatever I bring. That attitude is in the rearview mirror. So sick of hearing that. Tell Stanley, Marcus, Wooten, Louis, Graham, etc. See how that works out for you. The Dingwall is the great sounding and looking bass. Always respect for the P bass, but please let that go. So I see where you're coming from with that comment. I think that's in response to me saying, if you showed up at a Motown gig with a Dingwall, you might get some funny looks. I actually do stand by that. If I got hired for like a Motown show, I would definitely bring a P bass. A big part of a live gig is the visual aspect of it. So I think people want to see a P bass on that sort of gig. Having said that, I do get what you're saying. The whole P bass thing, you have to have a P bass for a certain gig. It's kind of annoying. It'd be nice just to play what you want on any gig, but unfortunately, I don't think that is the case. If you land a Motown gig and you want to play your Dingwall, that's up to you, but I personally wouldn't do it. So this is the question that I get asked the most. Can I have the PDF? So I get asked this all the time. Can I have the PDF with the notation and the tabs for the videos that I do? Absolutely 100% yes. Just email me at this address. I'm getting this request more and more, so I'm getting quite a few of these every week. At some point it's going to probably be unmanageable, so hopefully I'll be able to add all the transcriptions to my website, which you should be able to download for free for a limited time. This question asks what kind of cord you need for the bass. So a 1/4 inch jack cable is standard for any guitar or bass. You can get them at any music shop or Amazon or Gear for Music, Tom, all those places. Just make sure it's an instrument cable, 1/4 inch jack. This sounds like a very sort of basic question, but I had all the same questions when I first started playing bass, so hopefully that helps. Is this recommended for serious playing? Starting a band with my good buddies, and we agreed to take things seriously. The bassist is a guitarist turned to bassist who struggles to reach the frets of the bass. Will this be good and okay for gigging or even professional use after component upgrades? So this refers to the Ibanez micro review that I did. So like I said in the video, it actually sounds really good. For a 27 inch scale, which is super small, it actually sounds way better than you'd expect. It won't take long for the guitarist to get used to a full-size bass. Like you said, as long as they take it seriously and they practice a bit every day, they'll get used to it in no time. So a short scale will always have a slightly different timbre than a full-size bass. So 9 times out of 10, I'd always go for the full-size bass. So that doesn't really answer your question, but yes, it sounds good enough. But personally, I'd probably just try and get used to the full-size bass. Your bass sounds amazing, it looks incredible with an action solo. Do you recommend Sandberg? Yeah, I would recommend Sandberg. I have 2 Sandbergs. I have my 5-string and also my 4-string. This 4-string I take on almost every single gig with me. It's like my go-to bass. I can't actually put into words how much I love this bass. It just feels amazing, it sounds great, and I think it looks pretty cool too. So yeah, Sandberg's my number 1. I like a lot of the style of bass playing from that era. Is there a name for that particular style? So this comment was from the video for Rocksteady by Aretha Franklin. Chuck Rainey was on bass. I think maybe you'd call that style funk or soul. The B section in that song is a 16th note groove. You can listen to people like Jaco Pastorius and Rocco Prestia, who also play in that style. Could you do more songs from AC/DC? I may come back to AC/DC one day. The big problem with doing AC/DC tracks is the video gets immediately blocked every time. So you have to go through the whole process of saying this is for fair use, which is kind of annoying. So I might do in the future, but for now I'm just going to focus on some other bands. So the last one I did was 5 Reasons Why AC/DC Bass is Great. Check that one out. But I'm always happy to get requests, so yeah, send them on through. How do you connect to the cab? This is for my TC electronic amp. So I didn't mention this in the video, so sorry for the oversight. It's a speak-on cable that connects the amp to the cab. You can't use a jack cable, unfortunately. Did you make the background music? Do you have any music I can listen to? I just got the background from like a royalty-free library, so that's, I think that's called Soul Searching, something like that. I just like it sits in the background and nobody complains about it, so it's all good. Yeah, I do have my own music, but it's not ready for release yet. Maybe I'll release that in the future. How do you set up the preamp to get a punchy sound with a bridge in the middle? Again, this is the video for the Dingwall. I generally just set everything flat. I'm pretty basic when it comes to that sort of stuff. Kind of trust in the manufacturer a little bit, so I set everything flat on the preamp of the bass and flat on the amp itself as well. I went to a music store the other day to buy a pedal, but I could not really find one I liked. I actually prefer the sound I get without a pedal. Is this a sin? Do pro bass players ever play without pedals? Also, if they do use pedals, it's never just one, but heaps. What's the deal with that? So no, you absolutely do not need to have any pedals. It's a completely personal taste. Lots of professional players just have a very standard bass sound, and that's what people are generally looking for. However, I do like pedals. This is my current pedal board. It's a bit of a mess. So I've got a compressor. A lot of professional bass players use compressors. Just kind of evens out your bass sound when you are playing in a band. Tuner, also another good choice. You could also experiment with an octave pedal. I've got a big muff, which is a fuzz pedal, and I've also got a Sans amp because I'm trying to play with as little gear as possible these days. There's definitely not a sin to have no pedals. Personally, the absolute minimum I'd take would be a compression and a tuner pedal. But everyone's unique, so you do you. How could you add a Davey 504 clip? That's so disrespectful. So I made a video called Why Bass Players Should Use a Plectrum, and I featured a clip of Davey 504 using a plectrum. So the big joke with Davey 504 is that he doesn't use a plectrum, he doesn't like plectrums, but it's obviously a joke, and I think this commenter might have misinterpreted that as an actual fact. So I do apologize if I upset this commenter with that clip, but that was kind of the point of the video, so all good. Was the P-Bass a Squier? One is an American Fender and one is a Chinese Squier. A Chinese Squier is currently in bits, so I want to get a bit more money together. I'm hopefully going to finish sort of modding that one and do a video about that. So thanks very much for everybody who subscribed. This video is for you. Really appreciate it. I never thought I'd get to 2,000, so that's a real achievement for me. So thanks very much.